Hello and happy early Christmas break. This is the last day before the break. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about light and how light is formed. So we have electrons that orbit around our nucleus, whatever our element is. So I just put element here in the middle where element is our nucleus. But we have electrons that orbit around. And what we learned previously, the electron configuration, that is the ground state of all of those electrons. And so let me be clear, the ground state is the lowest energy level that they can occupy. And that's the state that they're going to go to. But just like us and just like everything else, electrons can absorb some energy, and we call that energy quanta. And so they can absorb quanta, which is energy, and when they do that, they get really excited. And so they don't want to stay where they're at. They have more energy, so they're going to jump up to a higher energy level. So if I'm at my ground state and then I absorb quanta, I'm going to jump up to a higher energy level. We call this jump a quantum leap. Okay, so far we have our ground state, which is where they start. They absorb some quanta, and that makes them get excited, and they take a quantum leap up to a higher energy level. That higher energy level, whatever it is, if it's not their normal energy level, is called their excited state. Okay? And so they can't stay there forever. They can't. We can't stay at an excited state forever. And so eventually they fall back down to where they're supposed to be. They go back home. And so when they fall back down, they release that energy in the form of wavelengths. And those wavelengths are light. And so that's what we interpret as light. So to summarize this up, well, actually first we'll go ahead and give you a different example. So just like a little toddler, they have their ground state, whatever their chill state is, whatever their normal state is. All toddlers are pretty hyper. If I give them some sugar, I give them energy, little packets of energy, so sugar, they're going to get more hyper, right? They're going to get more excited. They're going to be at a higher energy level. So they're going to jump up to that higher energy level, and they're going to hang out up there, but they don't hang out up there forever, right? They eventually crash. And when they crash, they typically crash in an ugly, screaming, crying fit fashion, and then they pass out and take a nice long nap, and they wake up really happy. So same concept for our electrons, just not as glamorous as toddlers. So again, we start in our ground state. We absorb some quanta, which is just little packets of energy. And then we take a quantum leap up to the excited state. Eventually they fall back down and release energy in the form of light. So ground state is where everybody starts. Come up to the excited state. When they're falling back down to the ground state, that's when they produce light. And so that's how we see light. And since each element has different energy levels, and so then each electron, whenever they release back down for that element, is going to give off a different energy. They absorb a different energy to get up there, and they release that same amount of energy back out into the universe. And so that is why they all burn different colors, and you'll see that today in the lab. But they're all going to produce different colors. But that is how light works. So hopefully that's interesting and made sense.